The answer choices make this very clear that we're testing punctuation, and specifically, I see these two semicolons hanging out here, and I know that they are involved with where we divide a sentence, right? It's basically functioning like a period. So I have to think, all right, am I going to need that? Are these two separate sentences here, and I need that hard stop of a period of a semicolon? Or is the however more just like an interruption, and I just need commas? So both. Not just looking at the choices, none of these answers is like definitely wrong, right? Like there are versions of English sentences that could use any of these versions of the punctuation. Maybe D is a little weird, but let's see what this particular sentence does for us. Okay, I'm going to start here because at least structurally, that period there is kind of resetting the sentence. So let me just kind of highlight it maybe. So Okanaka doesn't make such decisions single-handedly. However, all historical designations must be approved by a group of 9 other experts from the fields of architecture, archaeology, history, and Hawaiian culture. So there's 2 sentences here. So sentence 1, Okanaka doesn't make such decisions single-handedly. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's use yellow. That's fine. The other sentence is longer. All historical designations must be approved by a group of 9 other experts, blah, blah, blah. So really the sentence takes over there. So I definitely have 2 sentences here. Both the yellow and the green could stand alone. I don't need any other piece to just say Okanaka doesn't make such decisions single-handedly. I could put a period right there. All historical designations must be approved by a group. Could do a period right there. So that means I'm going to need the semicolon. These are not connectable with just a comma. We would need something else. We'd need a comma and a conjunction like and. We would need maybe some other connector word. However is not going to do the trick. So we need the stronger punctuation. Beyond that, the real decision now is whether however goes with the first part or if it goes with the second part. So we have to think now less about grammar and more about style and more about the ideas that we're trying to say. So is the however this kind of contrasting transition, is this what sentences is this contrasting here? So I do need to go back to sentence 1. Sociologist Alton Okanaka sits on the review board tasked with adding new sites to the Hawaii Register of Historic Places, which includes these things. Yeah, I'm not going to try to pronounce those. Which includes these places. Okay, so it seems like just a statement of fact about what this person does. Okanaka doesn't make such decisions single-handedly. I think, however, is going to go here because he's on the board, tasked with this, but they're kind of saying, but he's not just doing this alone, right? All historical designations must be approved by a group, right? So the contrast is when we go from sentence 1 to sentence 2. They're kind of setting this person up to be like the main guy for this board. Then in sentence 2, the yellow sentence, they're like, actually, he's not doing it alone. And then sentence 3 is providing an example of that or proof of that, evidence. So 3 is not contrasting 2. 3 is supporting 2. It's giving us evidence that he's not doing it single-handedly. So choice A is the answer because we need the however to be in sentence 2. It's a weird place to put it, right? Because you're thinking, well, if I'm showing a contrast between sentence 1 and sentence 2, why not put the however right at the beginning of sentence 2? So the contrast is really obvious that we're contrasting with what we just said. And yeah, like I agree with that. That's where I would put it. But you don't have to put it there. Literally, you could put it anywhere in the sentence. We could even insert it in the middle of the yellow and use some commas if we wanted to. But the SAT is purposely giving you kind of a weird way of doing it just to see how well you understand the grammar rule. So I don't think this is an example of a question where like you would just have an instinctive response that A is correct. You need to think about it and you need to understand that there's a grammar rule at play, but also this kind of like ideas, kind of way of thinking. And we're going to see that more as we get into the transition specific questions, but it's kind of using this one as a starting point for that. We're transitioning from the grammar questions to the transition questions with a question that involves a transition and grammar about transitioning between two sentences. It's a mess. I don't know if the SAT is doing this on purpose, but it's a tough question. I've seen them do it in many of these new practice tests, so it is going to be a part of the new test in an important way, especially if you're trying to get a high score. So always check grammar first, but if you see this however or any sort of transition word kind of floating between different sentences, you've got to think which sentence makes the most sense.